social media changed everything. And most people who aren't well versed in social media don't grasp. And this is like a fight I've been trying to have with people for a very long time, trying to convince them. Like my dad runs a company, and I was trying to sell them on content like a decade ago, dude. Like I could have made them the biggest pool company ever if they had to listen to me, but they just thought I was full of shit. Right? They're like, this kid doesn't know what he's talking about because they couldn't grasp the numbers. It's hard to explain that one kid who knows what he's doing can get way more publicity than an entire news station.
Mhm.
Right. And that's so possible. Like with what the CBC is doing, which is a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, it's a state owned media company, or they call it a crown corporation, whatever word you want to throw onto it. It's owned by the Canadian federal government, whatever. They are so big because back in the day, to run media, it used to be really, really expensive because you had to have a lot of experts involved just to get any piece of content out, even if it was poor. Now, like that's been democratized down to almost nothing with this phone, right? Like if you understand the strategy and you understand people better, I can achieve with like a team of 1/100th of the size what CBC does now. Like there's just so many people in those roles that really aren't necessary anymore because of what can be done with such smaller teams and more tools and accessibility that's out there. And that's why Canada changed their laws here. So we had some hate comments from a clip that I posted like last week about this exact problem. And like, say what you want. I don't like to touch politics all that much because I think it's all bullshit. Like, I don't lean to the left or the right because I think they're both bullshit. They're not even real, in my opinion. But with this in particular, the Liberals were voting to continue to fund this entity. Basically, the people reporting on the coverage of the election were so unbelievably biased. They were basically cheering on like a local sports team for one party. And we're both everyone's paying into this, right? Like, that should be a crime. Like that should be criminally charged if you're cheering on and spewing bias for one party and what's supposed to be a bipartisan media. Like
Mm,
that's crazy. And
mm.
and that's also where it comes into play, right? Where when I said these things, right? Everyone's who's a big liberal here, and this country's very liberal. They're like, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Stop spewing conspiracy." It's like, dude, you don't know enough about the media business, and you clearly don't know enough about psychology. Because I'm not literally saying like there's someone with a gun to their head being like, "Say it like this." I'm saying it's just natural incentive structures that's going to lead to that bias, and that's the scariest part, right? Is that censorship can come in many different ways, shapes, and forms. It's not just like, oh, you can't say this. It's maybe you won't get the opportunity, or there's going to be a lot of bias in what people think is a bipartisan or a neutral form, and it's just not accurate. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that kinda ties in a little bit to what we're talking about here with the censorship thing too. It's like, I think we've even discussed this maybe personally before, is like, just because information is not being suppressed does not mean that it's not that there's still somewhat of a form of, like, censorship when you're pushing certain messages as well. And so there's a little bit of that as well to think about as far as, and I have no idea about this whole situation in CBC. So this has been really fun for me because I'm like, I have no
It's
idea what's going on, but I
it's a very
see it's yeah.
it's a very layered problem, and so I understand everyone's perspective in it, but most of the people who are arguing, they don't know enough about enough to have a really good opinion. Like, I honestly say that I'm in this small minority of Canadians that even have any sort of grasp on the scope of the situation and the incentive structure that's there, and also how the market has changed, right? So
Mm,
obviously, the Canadian government has loved the fact that they were the sole source of truth when it came to media in Canada. Why wouldn't you love that as a government? Of course you would love that, right? But they had this big, massive, inflated budget to run this media company that now is getting their ass kicked because the landscape has changed. And so
mm,
they're basically like the kid at school who like lost the game, and instead of like just saying shit, I'll try harder next time, they take the ball with them so no one else can play. That's essentially what they're trying to do because
gotcha.
what they said is they're like, and this is what all the liberals spew whenever they beef me. They're always like, no, this is just greedy. They're bots, man. I'm certain they have a bot farm going, man, because when we posted that clip, it had like 200 views, like 250 tops. And there was already like a very pre-written, felt like comment, and it got 14 upvotes within seconds.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is, I've been on social media posting for a decade. That is not real.
Yeah,
Like that
that's
is
crazy.
someone paying to do that. Whether that is a party or who knows, I don't know who's doing it. I'm not claiming anything, but that happened and I saw that and I know that's not real. So when they spew this, the fact that they say, "Oh, it's because of this big corporate greed," like that's a narrative that has been hammered down Canadians' throats for decades. That's why this country is so liberal and they hate America. Like a lot of, they're shifting the tides here. Like a lot of Canadians, they really don't like America. They really hate big corporation. They're very anti-capitalist, and it feels very manufactured, in my opinion, personally. And it's very convenient to blame someone that people understand and already know they maybe shouldn't like, right? Because of other media that they've heard. It's a lot more complicated to explain you lost, right?
Yeah.
Like it's changed. The media landscape has changed. And so what they say is that they're like, oh, well, YouTube should have to pay us to post our media stories there. It's like, why would they have to pay you any more than solo reporter? That's what they're asking for,
Mm.
which I think is ridiculous. Like, and the only people who would not think that's ridiculous is who doesn't understand how much could be achieved with so much less money. And if we're paying for this crown corporation, theoretically through our taxes and whatnot, then should we not have some say on how that thing is run? Like
So
a little bit, you'd think?
so
Go
I
ahead.
want to double click on that thing because I actually I've never heard this term crown corporation and only
I
earlier
hadn't either, to be transparent.
word
Someone commented on it. Yeah.
because I only heard earlier this year when like Trudeau was like stepping down or resigning or kind of was kind of being pushed out that Canada is technically like of the crown of the United Kingdom. I don't know exactly how it works. I know that it's not like super strong ties to where they have real power, but like
Hmm.
Canada is still kind of a part of the British like
Yes.
empire almost, if I could say.
Canada's a very weird situation. I like Canada. I used to love Canada, and I'm still proud to say that I'm Canadian, but it's a very weird dynamic. We're kind of like in a bunch of different pools at the same time. It's very strange. And we got a new prime minister here, Mark Carney, who he basically won because he was anti-Trump. Like
Mhm.
literally, all these people here who said they hated Trump so much, I was like, if you hate him so much, why are you making your entire decision off of what you think is the farthest away from him? Like you're obsessed with this guy.
Right.
If you hate him so much, like why are you talking about him 24/7? So Carney won, which is actually insane to think about it. He was only up for election for like less than
Couple
half a year, I
weeks.
believe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like maybe months.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see. Let's ask how long, because
It was
that was
fast.
crazy.
It was
Yes,
fast.
I didn't think there was. Truthfully, I didn't think there was a chance that he would win, but I guess I underestimated the like developed hatred for Trump amongst Canadians. Like I really underestimated that.
Mhm.
And that was my misjudging of things because I guess I failed to consider how truly politicized this country is and how that's always the boogeyman. Like every problem we have is like Trump. They're like Trump did this, Trump did that, Trump did this, Trump did that. He's on our news and media so freaking often,
That's
man.
so
It's
wild
crazy.
to think about. We are also kind of having a conversation in the United States about this, about foreign leaders being so important in our discussions every day. It's like why are these foreign leaders so important to us? Anyways, another thing about Mark Carney is like most people don't really know who he is, but like he's a really important figure throughout history. He actually, I believe he's Canadian born, was once the actual governor of the Bank of Canada, and then he actually became the governor for the Bank of England for quite some
Hmm.
time, which like for anyone ever to go from another country to then going and being the governor of their bank, of their central bank is like a crazy thing.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of, international global kind of like power and in that time
Yeah.
in Bank of England was when he really solidified that position. So
Yeah, and there's a lot of people in England who don't like him. I'm sure there's some that do. I don't really have an opinion on the guy because unless I've known him personally, I know we're just seeing a character. But the one thing I will say is that he's the smartest prime minister we've had in a very long time. Like you can tell intelligence by how someone carries themselves, and also like what I really look for is in a live debate. I try to get into the mind of like how they're interpreting a question, which then allows me to understand their thinking systems, right? And in doing that with Carney for a few hours, I was like, oh, this guy's so much smarter than everyone else in that room. It's not even close. And so once I saw that, I was like, oh, like the conservatives are probably cooked here because all love to Maple Mega, which is the guy Pierre Polyev, I think his name is. And he basically was running as being just like Trump. And then that really came back to bite him in the ass when you did the whole tariff stuff in the States.
mm,
And
mm,
that's really why he lost. And also another thing in terms of media literacy, the conservative media team, like y'all need to be fired because he didn't go on the podcast circuit because they were worried about like what it might do. And I'm like, you guys are idiots,
mm.
man. You get like that is the dumbest shit ever. They're like worried, like, oh, we don't want to connect him to Trump. It's like, well, your only opportunity for him to actually deliver his point and it to be heard is on a podcast. And they only let him do like one or two podcasts. Apparently, Rogan asked him to go on, and he said no. I was like, yo,
That's
whoever is working for the
crazy.
conservative media team, y'all need to be fired right now. Like, that's crazy. You guys do not understand social media because that is just a horrendous decision. And maybe there was some stuff I'm not privy to, so maybe y'all shouldn't be fired. Maybe y'all made the right call. But from an outsider's perspective, that was a crazy decision.